Very compelling movie, and I think, like a bunch of us talked about, it took place 30 years ago, real life, but it could have just been yesterday with the way things are.
Yeah.
And now I'm just looking at all of you in person. I'm looking at how young your faces are, and it's like, I couldn't imagine, being a kid, really, and having to go through that, and being somewhat coerced into saying that you did something that you didn't do. Tell me a little bit about that, just going through your guys' mind when you were playing your parts.
Well, I mean, neither could we.
Yeah.
I know for sure that this wasn't a case that I was aware of.
Yeah.
And when I was reading up on it and saw that these are like 14 to 16-year-olds being interrogated and coerced into saying such terrible things, I had in mind like my little sister who's now 15. Like imagine her going through something like that. Like, yeah, it was just unbelievable.
Yeah, absolutely. Being from the Bronx, being raised very close to Harlem, just being a New Yorker in general, it kind of sends a chill through your bones thinking about how this could be you, your friend, your cousin, anybody in the streets. So that weight and that pressure definitely rested on my shoulders as a New Yorker.
I had to ask myself like the really tough question of just what would I have done at 14 in a situation like that. I wouldn't have been able to hold up for anywhere near as long as they did.
And then the strange part, of course, as well, is when they go into court, there's no real evidence, but it's
Right.
like, you know what? We got to get somebody, and it's going to be you.
The decision had already been made, yeah.
What was it like then for you to sit at home or wherever you did and watch this?
I remember we watched the first two episodes together. After the first episode, there was just a huge moment of silence. We didn't say anything. We had to take our space, so people walked out of the room. And then after the second episode, same thing, just collecting our thoughts, because it's so devastating to know that this happened in real life. And then it's one thing to see it on the page, and then when it's translated to the screen, it's absolutely terrifying.
And you're playing the parents in the movie, and all of a sudden your young son is accused of doing something that is so horrific, even though you know he didn't do it. I mean, can you just imagine being a parent and having to go through that? I mean, in real life.
No, I mean, we're both parents.
Right.
In real life. And no, I can't imagine. My daughter just turned 9, and I think the equivalent of a 14-year-old in 1989 is probably a 9-year-old now. And I cannot, no, not for a moment, imagine that accusation and then the results and then subsequently my 9-year-old basically going to jail. No, I can't even fathom it.
And then even in the movie where, it's your son, you're feeling for him, but he's got issues with things that had happened in the past with you.
Yes, that was the main reason why I let Marsha speak first, because like most moms in our community is Papa's maybe, Mama's baby. And at the surface, that Bobby could have been perceived to have fled the scene when things got rough. I chose to dig deeper and find out what I believe his true truth was, which was he was embarrassed. He felt helpless that he had a part to do with his son being prosecuted falsely, and when the reality that he was used as a pawn in that lie, I think that he figured his family was better off without him.
You've got your clients where, to an extent, there's no real evidence against them, but
the apparatus of the state had already decided.
Yeah.
I mean, when you're on that set, and it's written beautifully, so you have your moments of hope, right? Where even as an audience member, because I watched them all 4 together too, and I mean, I knew where the story was going,
Right.
but you're sitting there, you're like, some decent person has to be like, okay, we made a mistake. Like somebody is going to just be like, okay, we can't do this. Like these are children, this is wrong. And your brain, my brain, even watching it, even having read the scripts, even knowing what the story was, my brain just wouldn't accept that this was about to happen. And then it happens. And it seems impossible, but at the same time, of course, right? We see the story repeat itself over and over and over again. And here we are in 2019, and we're not really in too much of a different place now than we were back then.
Right, because no, that's what we've all talked about. You said it was 30 years ago, but it could have just been 30 seconds ago.
Right.
Yeah,
with everything that goes on.
That's the thing. It was David and Goliath. These kids against the state and their families against this machinery. But yeah, it's one of the things that I certainly forgot. And it's one of the things I think Ava was very wise in doing, and making sure you felt the innocence and the childlike aspect of these boys, that they were boys, and you know how their lives were just impacted. You know, because they were out having a good time. You know, we don't have enough time to go into, but there's so many different conversations to be had.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, people do bad things. You know, when people are profiled, they're profiled for a certain reason, because there have been people who have come along who have done some things. But the question is, justice is choosing the right person